Chapter 1. First Realization. After the Nine-Tails' devastating attack on Konoha, Naruto Uzumaki's world changed forever. He was only a few hours old when the powerful beast that caused so many deaths was sealed into his body. Despite this, he knew nothing of the fate that was in store for him. As the years passed, Naruto grew up facing the mistrust and fear of those around him. At first, he didn't understand why everyone avoided him, why the whispers behind him became louder as soon as he entered the room. But in one moment, on the training ground, his life changed. He was 7 years old. He tried to perform a simple shadow clone technique, but instead of success, he felt a strange warmth spreading through his body. This chakra was different. It seemed alive. Her movement, like a river, carried a story that he could not understand. Then a voice sounded in his head for the first time. "Did you feel something, boy?" A low, rough voice sounded inside the mind. Naruto was scared. He thought he was going crazy, but the voice continued. "You are the chosen one. You carry the power that can change the fate of the world." For the first time, he realized that chakra was not just the energy to perform techniques. It's something more. It contained knowledge that he could not yet unravel. Chapter 2. The First Step to Understanding. The next day, Naruto turned to his teacher, Iruka-sensei. He tried to explain his feelings, but he just smiled and waved it off, considering it a child's fantasy. However, Naruto couldn't calm down. He began his research. He first went to the village archives, where he found references to the Sage of the Six Paths, a man who was said to understand the true nature of chakra. But the recording stopped at the most interesting point. To find out more, he had to turn to the Hokage. "Sarutobi-ji-chan," he began, using his usual familiar tone. "Do you know anything about the Sage of the Six Paths?" The third Hokage looked at the boy carefully. His eyes darkened with thoughts, but he answered, "It's an ancient legend, Naruto. But if you want to know more, you need to understand what kind of power is hidden within you. Your path will not be easy." From that day on, Naruto devoted his time to training, meditating, and searching for answers. However, not everyone was happy that he was beginning to delve into the study of chakra. There was talk among the ANBU that the boy was becoming too curious. Chapter 3. First Enemy. During one of his nightly activities, Naruto felt someone else's presence. A masked ninja armed with a kunai rushed to attack him. This was his first encounter with someone who considered him a threat. But at that moment, the chakra spoke to him again. "Use me and I will show you what true power is," said the same rough voice. Naruto froze, but instinctively released a stream of energy. The enemy's kunai became hot and fell out of his hands. Naruto felt that he was able to understand something new about chakra, but at the same time, he realized that he had enemies. Chapter 4. Secrets Within. Naruto stood in the silence of the training ground at night, his breath steaming in the cool air. As soon as the sound of the kunai falling died down, he realized that he had just survived thanks to something he didn't fully understand. His body was still vibrating from the residual effects of the chakra. It flowed like a river, seething and overflowing, but this time it seemed more obedient. The enemy's mask glittered in the moonlight, and its owner stood up, retreating a few steps. Naruto tensed, his gaze becoming serious and his fists clenching. He had never fought a real enemy before, and at that moment, every cell in his body was ready to explode from the tension. "Who are you?" Naruto asked sharply, his voice sounding uncertain but firm. The masked man did not answer. He stood motionless. His figure seemed like an ominous shadow. Only a moment later, he said, "You weren't supposed to know. But now that you have started asking questions, the answers will be your undoing." The words sounded threatening, and Naruto felt his heart clench with fear. However, the same deep voice that spoke before came from within him. "Don't be afraid, you are much stronger than you think. Show this fool who you are." Naruto felt his chakra activate again. This time he concentrated, trying to feel her move. She was alive, like a stream, and he could control her. Suddenly his hands began to glow with a soft orange glow. "Okay, let's try," he muttered, more to himself than to the voice in his head. Naruto attacked. He rushed forward, his fist glowing with chakra. The enemy apparently did not expect such a movement and barely managed to dodge. The explosion of energy caused by the impact caused the ground around it to crack slightly. Naruto felt a rush of adrenaline. It was something new, exciting, and a little scary. Chapter 5. New Ally. When the battle ended, the enemy retreated, leaving behind only a dark trail. Naruto was left alone, standing among the disturbed earth. His head was full of questions. Who was it? Why did he attack? And most importantly, what happens to his chakra? The next day, Naruto went to Sarutobi Hiruzen. He was sure that the third Hokage knew more than he was saying. But when he told him about the attack, the old man frowned. "So they've started to act," he muttered under his breath before looking at Naruto. "You're right, boy. Chakra is not just power, it is a repository of memories, emotions, and wisdom. but finding out its true nature is not easy. You have a long and dangerous journey ahead of you. Naruto looked at the old man, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. He didn't understand who they were, but he felt that his research and training was just beginning. Hiruzen suddenly leaned forward. There is someone who can help you understand what chakra is. This man is outside the village, but the path to him is dangerous. Are you ready? Naruto nodded. He was determined. There was a fire in his eyes that said, I won't stop. Chapter 5, The Path to Strength. Naruto stood in front of the gates of Konoha, preparing for his first real journey. The wind played with his blonde hair, but this time his eyes did not have that carefree look that he usually wore. His path now lay outside the village, to the place where he should meet someone who would help him unravel the secrets of the chakra. Hiruzen stood next to him, looking at the boy carefully. Are you sure you're ready for this, Naruto? Asked the old man. Naruto nodded, clenching his hands into fists. He couldn't let himself down. The words of the Hokage echoed in his head. This path will be dangerous. But he knew that there was simply no other way. Chakra became for him not just a tool, but something deeper. She called to him like a living creature, promising to reveal her secrets. I'm ready, Ji-chan, Naruto said confidently. I will prove that I can. Hiruzen smiled, but there was a hint of worry in his eyes. He handed Naruto a small scroll. This letter is for your mentor. He will understand why you came. Naruto hid the scroll in his bag and looked back at the village. His gaze lingered on the familiar streets, which he could now leave. But there was no regret in his heart. First he had to understand himself, and then return home. Meeting with an ally. The road was long and difficult. Naruto crossed forests, valleys, and small villages that seemed as quiet as the people in Konoha. On the fourth day of his journey, he reached the place described by the Hokage. It was a small hut hidden among ancient trees. As he approached the hut, the door suddenly swung open, and a tall man with deep scars on his face appeared on the threshold. His eyes were like an eagle's, sharp, observant. He looked at Naruto with interest, but also with caution. Are you the boy Sarutobi sent? He asked rudely, folding his arms over his chest. Naruto stepped forward, trying not to show his uncertainty. Yes, it's me. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I want to learn to understand chakra. The man chuckled as if this statement was something too simple. Chakra? He grimaced. You have no idea what she is like. But if you want to risk your life for knowledge, follow me. He turned and disappeared into the shadows of the hut, leaving the door open. Naruto took a deep breath and stepped inside. Start of training. The man's name was Jin. He was once a famous shinobi, but left the ninja world, deciding to devote himself to the study of chakra. His methods were unusual and harsh, but that was what impressed Naruto. Do you want to understand chakra? Then first forget everything you knew about her, Jin said on the first day of training. Each chakra has its own story, but you won't hear it until you learn to listen. The first task looked simple, but turned out to be extremely difficult. Naruto had to sit still on top of the rock and listen to the wind, the flowing water, and the world around him. Jin said that chakra is a part of nature, and its understanding begins with the awareness of this connection. This is boring, Naruto muttered, spending days in one position. If you can't cope with boredom, then forget about your goal, Jin snapped. Chakra is patience. Over time, Naruto began to feel subtle changes around him. He heard how the leaves of the trees reacted to the wind, how the water smoothly curved around the stones. And then he realized that chakra is really connected with nature. It was like a new feeling that he couldn't explain in words. Test of strength. After a few weeks, Jin decided it was time to test what Naruto had learned. He led him to a clearing where heavy boulders were scattered. Chakra is not only nature, but also power. You must learn to control it. Try to lift these stones, but not with your hands, but with your energy. Naruto doubted. He had never done anything like this before. But Jin watched him with a fixed expression on his face, making it clear that this task was mandatory. He concentrated, feeling his chakra. It flowed inside him like a river, but now he was trying to direct it out. At first, nothing happened, but after a few hours, he saw one of the boulders begin to rise slightly. His heart sank with excitement, but he immediately lost concentration, and the stone fell with a dull thud. Can you feel it, boy? Asked Jin. This is just the beginning. If you want to understand chakra, you must learn to trust it, just as it trusts you. Chapter 6. Trial in the Forest. Training with Jin continued, and Naruto gradually began to understand the nature of chakra. His connection with this mysterious energy became stronger, and every day he discovered new aspects of its power. But at the same time, Naruto began to feel uneasy. Sometimes during meditation or exercise, he noticed strange shadows in the forest. They flashed quickly like mirages, but the feeling that he was being watched did not leave. You're too tense, Jin said one day, noticing Naruto's concern. It distracts you. If you allow fear to control you, the chakra will become your enemy. Naruto nodded, but inside he couldn't shake the feeling of threat. It was this feeling that kept him on alert when one night the forest was filled with strange sounds. Night forest? The moon hung high in the sky, illuminating the clearings and trees with a soft silver light. Naruto sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket, but sleep did not come. Suddenly he heard the cracking of branches somewhere in the distance. His heart beat faster. He sat up, listening. "Jin-sensei?" he called, but there was no answer. The crash repeated, closer this time. Naruto grabbed the kunai he always carried with him and slowly stood up. It seemed to him that the forest was coming to life around him. The branches moved, the shadows became thicker. He took a step forward, trying to see what was hiding in the darkness. And then he saw them. 3 strangers in black cloaks with hoods stood among the trees. They didn't move, but their presence was palpable, as if they were pressing on the air around. "Who are you?" Naruto shouted, trying to seem confident, although inside he was seething with fear. One of them stepped forward. His face remained in shadow, but his voice was cold and even. "You are the bearer of the power we seek. You should come with us." Naruto gripped the kunai tighter. He understood that these people were not going to leave him a choice. "No, wait!" He shouted and rushed to the side, going into the forest. "Escape!" Naruto ran, jumping over roots and dodging branches. My heart was pounding in my chest, but fear was gradually replaced by determination. He knew he had to use everything Jin had taught him. Pausing for a moment, he closed his eyes and concentrated. Chakra. She was inside him, flowing like a stream. He remembered Jin's words. Trust her. Naruto slowly raised his hand, and chakra began to concentrate in his palm. He felt its power, like a flame ready to burst into flames. There was a noise behind. The pursuers were approaching. "Time to test what I can do," he whispered. When the first of the strangers appeared in front of him, Naruto released a concentrated stream of chakra. The air around sparkled, and the stranger retreated, protecting himself with some kind of barrier. But Naruto was not going to give up. He continued to attack, channeling his energy with a precision he had never known before. However, the opponents were strong. One of them used a technique that bound Naruto's legs with roots that came out of the ground. He felt his strength leaving him, but at that moment, he remembered another of Jin's exercises. Chakra is not only strength, this is understanding. Find the weakness. Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated. He felt the flows of his enemy's chakra, saw how they intertwined. One of the streams was weaker than the others. This was his chance. Counterattack. Using the power of chakra, Naruto directed his energy towards the roots that bound him. He felt them weaken and broke free. The next moment, he released a blast of chakra, pushing his opponents back. The ground shook, and one of the attackers fell. Naruto wasted no time. He rushed forward using the same technique Jin taught him. A concentrated blast of chakra hit the weak opponent, and he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. The 2 remaining looked at each other, and one of them said, "The guy is stronger than we thought." They retreated, leaving Naruto alone. Return. When Naruto returned to the hut, Jin was already waiting for him. "Did you feel them?" he asked, without taking his eyes off the boy. Naruto nodded, breathing heavily. His hands were shaking with tension. "Who are they? Why do they want me?" Jin thought for a moment, then said, "These are the ones who are afraid of your strength. They will come again, but now you know how to protect yourself." Chapter 7. Call from the Depths. After the events in the forest, when the mysterious attackers almost captured him, Naruto could not find peace. Until recently, he had been immersed in training with Jin, learning to sense the flow of chakra and understand its movement. But now his thoughts were only occupied with who these strangers were and what they wanted. In addition, for the first time, he felt that in the chakra itself, there was something more than energy for techniques. It was like a call that was getting louder. Evening came. Jin noticed the students' confusion but did not ask questions. He just said, "Tomorrow you will continue training. It's better to rest today." Naruto tried to follow the advice and sat down by the fire, covering himself with a warm blanket. But sleep did not come. The forest, usually filled with the sounds of nature at night, seemed too quiet to him. It seemed as if the earth itself was waiting for something. Finally, he closed his eyes, trying to concentrate. Everything he knew about chakra told him to slow down his breathing, let the energy flow calmly. But instead of peace, Naruto felt the space around him begin to change. Dive into the subconscious. Opening his eyes, Naruto realized that he was not in his tent. The space around him was unclear and foggy. The floor under his feet felt wet, as if he was standing on water. In front of him stood a huge gate, shrouded in massive chains. A seal was visible on them, glowing with a soft red light. "Where am I?" he muttered, looking around. The answer came suddenly. A low, thunderous voice pierced the air. "You've finally arrived, boy." Naruto winced. This voice seemed familiar to him, although he had never heard anything like it before. He slowly turned his head towards the gate, and his gaze met two giant scarlet eyes sparkling in the darkness. From there, from the depths, huge teeth could be seen, shining like blades. "Who are you?" Naruto squeezed out, trying to keep his voice from shaking. The creature behind the gate laughed. It was a rough, frightening laugh that echoed throughout the entire space. "Who am I? You should know this, stupid boy. I am the Ninetales, a demon that was sealed in your body." The demon's words hit Naruto like an avalanche. He felt a cold run through his body. "It's impossible," he muttered, taking a step back. "Oh, it's true," the demon continued, his voice filled with contempt. "You became my jailer when you were still a baby. Your village used you, and now you're trying to understand chakra? You have no idea what it really is." Naruto felt anger rising within. He clenched his fists and stepped closer to the gate. "Shut up," he shouted. "You don't know anything about me." The demon laughed again. "You are strong, but stupid. If it weren't for my strength, you would have died long ago. Remember, boy, you have yet to understand who the real boss is here." With these words, the light in the demon's eyes went out, and the space began to collapse around him. Naruto felt himself being pulled back and opened his eyes. Awakening. He sat in his tent, breathing heavily. His body was covered in sweat and his heart was beating like crazy. He looked down at his hands, trying to process what had just happened. "Was it a dream?" he whispered, but deep down he knew that everything was real. A moment later, Jin entered the tent. His gaze became serious when he saw Naruto's condition. "You met him," he said calmly. "Did you know?" Naruto jumped to his feet. "Did you know that there was this beast inside me?" Jin nodded, sat down opposite him and spoke. "The Ninetales is not just a beast. He is part of your destiny. But don't let fear control you. The power he carries can be yours. You decide how to use it." Naruto lowered his head, his fists shaking. "So this is true? This demon is inside me. He says that I am his prison, but I don't want to be like that." Jin extended his hand and placed it on his shoulder. "Naruto, you are not a prison. You are the chosen one. The Ninetales may be dangerous, but it is also your ally if you learn to embrace its power. Your training is just beginning." Chapter 8. The Edge of Control. After his nightly meeting with Kurama, Naruto felt lost. His gaze was directed into emptiness as he sat on the edge of the clearing where he and Jin had come in the morning. Energy seethed inside him, which did not give rest, as if trying to break out. For the first time he realized how enormous the power hidden within him was. But this realization brought with it not only confidence, but also fear. Jin watched the boy from afar. He saw Naruto trying to cope with what had revealed itself to him during the night. Coming closer, he sat down next to her, holding a small scroll in his hands. "You look worse than usual," he noted with a grin. Naruto didn't even look in his direction. "After what I found out, I don't know how to live further. How can I even use chakra if I have this monster inside me?" Jin frowned and after a short silence spoke. "Naruto, your chakra is more than just energy. She is part of you. The Ninetales is just one of its sources. If you let fear control you, you will never be able to control it. You must be stronger." Naruto sighed, but his gaze remained sullen. "Stronger, you say? But how can I become stronger if I can't even understand what's going on inside?" Jin held out the scroll. "First, you need to learn to concentrate. We will work on this today. Training and a new threat." Jin's lessons became tougher. He forced Naruto to sit for hours in meditation, learning to feel his chakra and its flows. It seemed simple in words, but in reality it was exhausting. Every attempt to concentrate was met with the anxiety that Naruto felt after meeting Kurama. The demon seemed to be a constant reminder of its presence, like a whisper in the distance. "Close your eyes," said Jin, standing next to him. "Breathe deeply. Feel the chakra. Don't try to control it right away. Let it flow freely first." Naruto followed the instructions. He felt the chakra move through his body, pulsating in his palms, legs, even his fingertips. But suddenly he noticed that her flow became more aggressive. Instead of soft energy, it began to rush out like a storm. Naruto opened his eyes and red chakra swirled around him. "What is this?" he shouted, stepping back. Jin remained calm. "This is Kurama. Its power awakens when you lose control. Focus! You must gain the upper hand, otherwise she will destroy you." But Naruto did not have time to follow his instructions. At that moment, a loud sound, similar to the cracking of wood, was heard in the forest. Naruto turned around, and his heart sank. From the depths of the forest appeared the same figures that had pursued him before. There were 3 of them, and this time they looked more prepared. "You again?" Naruto shouted, clenching his fists. "What do you need?" One of them took a step forward. His face was hidden by a mask, but his voice sounded clear. "We warned you, boy. You know too much. Now you are a threat. Either you come with us or we will destroy you." Naruto felt anger building inside him. He knew he couldn't back down. Battle for control. The attackers attacked simultaneously. One of them threw shurikens, the second used a fireball technique, and the third created a barrier to limit the space for maneuvers. Naruto dodged, but felt his chakra becoming increasingly unstable. The red glow around him intensified. "Naruto!" Jin shouted. "Keep control, use what I taught you!" But Jin's words were drowned out by the roar of Kurama, who began to speak directly into Naruto's mind. "They threaten you, why are you hesitating? Use my power, boy. You know this is the only way to survive." "Shut up!" Naruto shouted, but couldn't hold back his chakra. A stream of energy erupted, striking one of the attackers and throwing him into a tree. The other two stepped back, exchanging glances. "His strength is growing," said one of them. "We have to use Plan B." They began to make seals, but Naruto felt that something had changed. His chakra became more stable, although Kurama was still raging inside him. "I can handle it myself," he whispered. Using the knowledge he gained from Jin, Naruto concentrated his chakra into his palms. He created a pulse that destroyed the barrier and then released a stream of energy, forcing the enemies to retreat even further. They didn't expect such power. "We'll be back," one of them said before disappearing. Awareness. When the battle ended, Naruto fell to his knees. His breathing was heavy and his body was shaking. Jin came up to him and helped him up. "You did it, but this is just the beginning," he said. "Control over chakra is not only strength, but also understanding, and you're still afraid of her." Naruto was silent. He knew that Jin was right. There were still fears inside him that needed to be overcome, but he also knew that he wouldn't stop. He must become stronger to protect himself and those he cares about. Chapter 9. The Path to the Heart of Nature. After the battle with the mysterious enemies, Naruto could still feel Kurama's energy raging within him. The body responded with weakness, and only one thought was pounding in my head. How can I cope with this power? His eyes were still filled with anger and fear as Jin approached him. "You did well, boy," the mentor said, looking at the exhausted Naruto. "But what you did was not control. This is survival. If you want to truly control your chakra, you need to learn to understand its nature." Naruto raised his head, gasping for breath. "How?" he exhaled. "I tried, but this thing inside me, it's too strong." Jin paused and then pointed towards the mountain range that was visible on the horizon. There, in the heart of the forest, there is a place where chakra becomes part of everything. It is called the Valley of Streams. If you want to understand how to control your power, that's where we'll go. But I warn you, it won't be easy. Naruto didn't hesitate. He clenched his fists, which still felt the weight of the battle, and nodded. "I'm ready. I will do everything to become stronger." Path to the Valley of Streams. Jin and Naruto set off early in the morning. Their path ran through dense forests filled with the sounds of nature. The silence that reigned around was broken only by the rustling of leaves and the crunch of branches underfoot. Jin walked confidently, as if he knew exactly where to go, and Naruto, following him, tried to focus on his thoughts. "You said this place was connected to chakra," Naruto finally asked, breaking the silence. "What does it mean?" Jin did not slow down. "In the Valley of Streams, chakra flows like a river, connecting nature and those who can feel it. This is a place where the boundaries between your energy and the world around you blur. It is there that you will learn not only to control your power, but also to understand its true nature." Naruto thought about it. He remembered his attempts to use chakra in battle, the flashes of red energy and Kurama's words. All this seemed to him far from the harmony that Jin spoke about, but he decided to trust his mentor. The Valley of Streams greeted them with majestic views. It was a place surrounded by tall trees and rocks from which waterfalls flowed. The soft sound of water, mixed with the rustle of the wind, created the feeling that the space itself was alive. "Here it is," said Jin. "Here the chakra is not only inside you, she's everywhere." Trial of the Valley. Before Naruto had time to ask questions, Jin pointed to a small area at the foot of one of the waterfalls. "Sit there," he said. "Your task is to merge with nature. Feel its energy the same way you feel your chakra." Naruto, still full of doubts, approached the indicated place. Water flowing down the rocks splashed around, creating a light mist. He sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. Jin remained at a distance, watching him. It was difficult at first. All the sounds around distracted Naruto. He tried to concentrate, but thoughts of Kurama, the battle, and the responsibility he carried broke his concentration. But gradually, he began to feel something different. The wind rustling through the leaves was like breathing. Soft, smooth energy moved through the flow of water. Naruto realized that this was the nature chakra that Jin was talking about. She was different, calm, but powerful. His concentration was suddenly interrupted. The ground around him shook and he opened his eyes. Something huge burst out of the water. It was an ancient snake-like beast with eyes glowing bright green. "What is this?" Naruto shouted as he rose to his feet. Jin stepped forward. "This is the guardian of the valley. He tests everyone who dares to use her power. You must prove that you are worthy. The serpent rushed forward, its huge body writhing like a stream of water. Naruto dodged, trying to use everything he had learned. But he quickly realized that brute force would not work here. Remember what I said, Naruto? Jin shouted. Chakra is not a weapon, this is the flow. Use it! Naruto stopped, took a deep breath, and concentrated. He remembered the feeling of the energy of nature that he had felt before the attack. Closing his eyes, he allowed his chakra to flow freely, intertwining with the flow of energy around him. When the snake attacked again, Naruto took a step to the side, his movements becoming smooth, almost dancing. He began to see the trajectories of the beast's attack, to feel the rhythm with which it moved. Using chakra, he channeled the energy into the ground, creating a barrier that repelled the serpent. The beast stopped. His green eyes looked straight at Naruto before he let out a roar and disappeared into the water. New understanding. Jin walked up to Naruto, who stood there breathing heavily but with burning eyes. You did it, he said, and now you understand what true control is. Naruto looked at his hands, which he still felt remnants of energy in. He smiled. It was incredible. I've never felt anything like this. Jin patted him on the shoulder. This is just the beginning, boy. Now you know that chakra is not just power. This is part of the world. But new challenges await you ahead. Chapter 10. Meeting at the Crossroads. After his ordeal in the Valley of Streams, Naruto felt renewed. Now he understood that chakra was not just power, but also a connection with the world of which he was a part. However, the feeling of threat emanating from mysterious enemies did not leave him. Jin noticed this concern, and after much thought suggested returning to Konoha. You need more support, Naruto. You should not be alone on this path, Jin said, raising his staff. I think there are people in the village who can help you. Naruto did not immediately agree, but he understood that his mentor was right. The road home was the first step to a new stage of his journey. Return to Konoha. As they approached the village, Naruto felt a familiar feeling of excitement. His heart began to beat faster as the massive gates of Konoha appeared before him again. He hadn't been here for several weeks, but the village seemed as lively as ever. As soon as he entered, he was greeted by Iruka, whose look first expressed surprise and then joy. Naruto, you're back, he exclaimed, coming closer. We were all worried about you. Where have you been? Naruto smiled, but his gaze remained serious. I had training. I learned to control chakra, but now I'm here, and it looks like we're in trouble. Before Iruka could ask for details, Sakura ran up to them. Her hair was slightly disheveled, and her face expressed a mixture of irritation and relief. Naruto, where have you been? We thought something happened to you, she began, and then noticed Jin. And who is this? Jin bowed slightly without saying a word. Naruto felt slightly embarrassed. This is my mentor, Jin. He helped me learn a lot. Sakura narrowed her eyes but decided not to argue. At that moment, Sasuke emerged from the shadows. His cold gaze settled on Naruto as if he were an object of study. You have become stronger, he said dryly. But this is not enough. Naruto snorted, but restrained himself from making a harsh response. We'll see which of us is stronger when I show what I've learned. Their short exchange of words was interrupted by the unexpected appearance of Jiraiya. The great hermit, as always, looked relaxed, but his eyes betrayed seriousness. Well, well, boys, he said, coming closer. There's no point in competing now. We have more important things to do. Threats and solutions. In the Hokage's office, Naruto spoke about the attack, about the strange enemies and their ability to use barriers. Jin added that these people were clearly after Naruto because of his strength. They know that the Nine Tails is inside you, Jiraiya concluded, and that makes you a target. Sakura fidgeted with her fingers nervously, looking at Naruto. So you were in danger all this time, and we didn't even know. Sasuke, on the other hand, looked calm. If these people are after him, then they will come here. We must be ready. Jin nodded. But first, Naruto needs to continue his training. The Valley of Streams gave him a basic understanding, but not enough to deal with the real threat. Jiraiya thought for a moment and then smiled. I have an idea. Naruto, do you want to learn even more? Then get ready for the journey. We will go to a place where a real test awaits you. And where? Naruto asked with interest. Jiraiya winked. To Mount Myoboku. There you will learn what a real connection with the nature chakra is. Chapter 11. Road to Mount Myoboku. After leaving the village, Naruto, Jiraiya, Jin, and Sakura headed to Mount Myoboku, where, according to Jiraiya, Naruto would be able to further study chakra and its connection to nature. The path was not easy. Dense forests, steep slopes, and endless paths. But each of them had a goal, and no one was going to stop. Naruto walked ahead, radiating enthusiasm, although inside he still doubted his abilities. After meeting Kurama, he felt that his control over chakra remained fragile. However, Jiraiya's words about Mount Myoboku gave hope. Jiraiya-sensei, what is this Mount Myoboku? Naruto asked, turning to his mentor. Jiraiya smiled, his eyes sparkling. This is the place where wise toads live. It is full of natural energy that helps ninjas gain true control over their chakra. I learned a lot there myself, and now your time has come. Toads? Naruto raised his eyebrows in surprise. How will they help me? Toads are wiser than they seem, Jiraiya answered. They have abilities that go beyond ordinary understanding. But to learn from them, you will have to pass tests. Sakura, who had been silent before, remarked, Tests? Don't you think Naruto isn't ready yet? Naruto turned to her with a pout. Hey, I'm ready. I can handle it no matter what. Jin, watching the skirmish, just grinned. Your wish is laudable, Naruto. But chakra control is not only about strength, it's also patience, and you have obvious problems with this. Naruto wanted to object, but at that moment he felt something strange. He stopped and looked around. The forest around them looked normal, but the air became tense. Jiraiya frowned. We are not alone. Unexpected meeting. A figure appeared from the shadows of the trees. Sasuke, with a cold gaze and a confident gait, entered the clearing. His black cloak fluttered slightly in the wind, and his sharingan-activated eyes stared intently at Naruto. Sasuke? Naruto exclaimed. What are you doing here? Sasuke stopped a few steps away, folding his arms across his chest. I followed you. I'm interested in what you've learned, Naruto, and I want to check which of us is stronger. Now is not the time for this, Sasuke, Sakura intervened. We're on a mission! But Sasuke ignored her. His gaze remained fixed on Naruto. You always said that you would become stronger. Show me what you've achieved. Naruto clenched his fists. He wanted to prove that he was able to cope with any challenge, even if it was his best friend and rival. Okay, Sasuke. If that's what you want, let's find out right here. Jin and Jiraiya exchanged glances. They understood that it would be difficult to stop them. This might be useful, Jiraiya said quietly. Let Naruto test his strength. Battle in the clearing. Sasuke made the first move. His movements were fast, almost lightning fast. He attacked using the Chidori technique, aiming it straight at Naruto. But Naruto managed to dodge, releasing a stream of chakra that created a barrier between them. You've gotten faster, Sasuke admitted, but this is not enough. He activated his sharingan to full power and then used the Great Fireball technique. Naruto, gathering chakra in his palms, created a protective vortex that deflected the attack. I learned a lot too, Sasuke, he shouted, rushing into a retaliatory attack. Naruto used his new knowledge of chakra by combining physical strikes with blasts of energy. His movements became smoother and his attacks more accurate. Sasuke, however, was no less powerful. Their clash turned the clearing into an arena where every technique echoed in the ground and air. Sakura, watching the fight, could not contain her excitement. They both became so strong. But why do they always have to fight? Jin stood nearby with his arms crossed. This is not just a fight. This is their way of understanding each other. Denouement. The battle continued until both had exhausted much of their strength. Naruto, breathing heavily, stood opposite Sasuke, who, despite being tired, still looked determined. You've gotten stronger, Naruto, Sasuke admitted, putting away the kunai. But don't forget that strength isn't everything. You must understand why it is needed. I know, Naruto replied, gritting his teeth. I will become stronger to protect everyone. Sasuke smiled, although it was more of a shadow of a smile. See you on the battlefield, Naruto. With that, he disappeared, leaving Naruto and the others in the clearing. Nue, Jin walked up to Naruto, placing his hand on his shoulder. You did it, but you still have a lot of work ahead. Naruto nodded, looking to where Sasuke had disappeared. He knew their paths would cross again, but now his goal was clear, to reach Mount Myoboku and learn how to become a true chakra master. Chapter 12. Trials of Mount Myoboku. The journey to Mount Myoboku was more difficult than Naruto expected. The road led through dense forests, steep mountain paths, and hidden passages that Jiraiya seemed to know by heart. From time to time, they stopped for a break to catch their breath, but Naruto was eager to find out what awaited him there. Sensei, what kind of toads are there? He continued, walking next to Jiraiya. Jiraiya chuckled. The wise toads of Mount Myoboku are not just creatures. They understand the nature of chakra like no one else. But to gain their knowledge, you will have to prove that you are worthy. Prove? Naruto frowned. What is this, another test? Exactly, Jiraiya nodded, and believe me, it won't be easy. First meeting. When they reached the top of the mountain, Naruto couldn't believe his eyes. Mount Myoboku turned out to be a place from another world. Giant trees, intertwined with their crowns, hid the sky, and crystal-clear waterfalls fell into lakes filled with sparkling water. There were a lot of toads around, from very tiny ones to huge ones, like houses. They were minding their own business, but when Jiraiya appeared, many stopped to greet him. Jiraiya-chan! A loud voice rang out. A creature of gigantic size jumped out from behind one of the stones. It was a toad with a robe, a stick, and a serious expression on his face. Gamabunta? Naruto was surprised, looking at the older toad, but Jiraiya shook his head. No, this is Gamaken. He is one of the guardians of the mountain. Gamaken looked at Naruto carefully. Is this him? He asked Jiraiya. That same boy, the carrier of the nine tails? Yes, Jiraiya replied, and he's here to be tested. Gamaken chuckled, then turned around. Follow me, the great sage is waiting for you. Trials of the Sage. In the center of the mountain, there was a temple, built of stone and surrounded by flowering trees. There, on a dais, sat the great sage of toads. His eyes were closed, but as Naruto approached, he slowly opened them. Welcome, Naruto Uzumaki, he said in a low, measured voice. I feel great strength inside you. But with her, I see chaos. Naruto bowed, even though his heart was pounding. I'm here to learn how to control my chakra and the power of the nine tails, he said. The sage nodded. If you really want this, you will have to pass 3 tests. The first is to learn to see the nature of chakra in its pure form. The second is to feel its flows not only within yourself, but also around you. And third, you will know when you are ready. Naruto wanted to object, but realized it was useless. He agreed and prepared for the first test. The sage gave Naruto a task, to concentrate and see chakra in its pure form. Naruto sat down by a small pond and began to meditate. It was quiet all around, but thoughts were raging inside his mind. Kurama seemed to be watching his attempts, ready to intervene. You will never learn this if you are distracted, a voice was heard from inside. Shut up, Naruto shouted. You yourself know that I'm right, Kurama growled. If you want to see the nature of chakra, first accept its chaos. These words made Naruto think. He realized that he was not fighting with Kurama, but with himself. Closing his eyes, he allowed his mind to calm down and his chakra to flow freely. Gradually, the world around him changed. He saw luminous streams intertwining with each other, like living rivers. This was the nature of chakra that the sage spoke of. Meanwhile, Sasuke's path. While Naruto was undergoing his tests, Sasuke delved into the study of ancient Uchiha techniques. In the clan's secret library, he found records of how his ancestors used the sharingan, not only for combat, but also to penetrate the depths of the mind and the nature of chakra. If Naruto is growing stronger, I should also evolve, he said to himself, holding the scroll in his hands. A technique called the Eyes of Fate caught his attention. It was an ability that allowed one to see not only the actual chakra, but also its possible development. However, this required enormous concentration and sacrifice. Sasuke decided to try this technique on himself, but knew that without support, he might fail. He began to look for allies who could help him achieve his goal. Chapter 13, Vortex of Tests. At Mount Myoboku, after successfully completing the first test, Naruto felt confident. He was able to see the nature of chakra, and this opened up a new world for him. However, the joy did not last long. The second test turned out to be much more difficult. You must feel the chakra of nature around you, said the Toad Sage. It exists in every blade of grass, every stone, every breath of wind. To merge with her is your goal. Naruto sat down on a smooth rock at the edge of the lake. The water was still, reflecting the blue sky. He closed his eyes and concentrated, trying to feel the flow of chakra in the world around him. But instead, his mind was filled with chaos. Kurama's voice came alive inside him again. It's no use, boy, the demon growled. You try to merge with nature, but you forget that I am part of it. As long as you reject me, you will never be able to control your chakra. Shut up, Naruto shouted, opening his eyes. I can handle it myself! This scream awakened something in Mount Myoboku. The ground shook underfoot and the trees began to sway. A huge elemental rose from the water, its body glowing with chakra energy. The Toad Sage raised his hand, stopping Gamaken, who was about to attack. This is natural protection, said the sage. You woke her up with your internal conflict. Now you must prove that you are worthy to continue your studies. Naruto jumped to his feet. The elemental attacked, releasing powerful streams of water. Naruto dodged using his speed and reflexes, but each of his counterattacks, filled with Kurama's red chakra, only strengthened the enemy's power. You can't defeat him with brute force, Jiraiya shouted, watching from the sidelines. Use what you have learned. Feel the chakra around you and direct it. Naruto froze, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes. He let the chakra flow freely, listening to its rhythm. Suddenly, he felt something unusual. The elemental energy was not hostile. She was part of nature. Instead of attacking, he directed his chakra towards the creature, trying to connect with it. The water flow slowed and then disappeared, and the elemental dissolved. Sage Toad nodded approvingly. Now you begin to understand. But there is another test ahead. Sasuke's look. At this time, in one of the old shelters of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke was completing his first training with the Eyes of Fate technique. His sharingan changed. A strange flicker appeared in his pupils, which he had not noticed before. The technique allowed him to see the future of chakra, but with this discovery came side effects. Sasuke fell to his knees, feeling pain engulf his body. He grabbed his head and his vision became blurry. Images began to flash before my eyes. A destroyed village, flashes of battle, scarlet eyes burning with hatred. He saw Naruto surrounded by powerful red chakra that was destroying everything around him. "What is this?" he whispered, trying to regain clarity. When the visions disappeared, he was breathing heavily, but suspicion began to grow inside him. "Naruto, you are the key to everything," he said to himself. "If I want to understand my destiny, I need to know yours." Sasuke left the shelter, heading in an unknown direction, but now his goal was Naruto. Secret threat? Meanwhile, in the shadows of the forest, two silhouettes watched what was happening. One of them is a tall man in a black robe with a deep hood, and the other is a masked shinobi with bright, almost glowing eyes. "Naruto Uzumaki is beginning to realize his strength," said the tall one, "but he's not ready yet." "And Sasuke Uchiha?" asked the second. "His new abilities pose a threat to our plans. As long as they are focused on each other, we must act. Awakening their true potential will work to our advantage. Prepare the group. We need complete control." They disappeared, leaving behind a slight flicker of chakra. Chapter 14. The Final Test. At Mount Myoboku, Naruto was preparing for his final test. Sage Toad slowly approached him. His eyes were full of calm, but his voice sounded serious. "Your last test, Naruto, is not only strength but also harmony. You must learn to accept your whole being. Only then can you become a nature chakra master." Naruto, although determined, could not hide his excitement. The sage's words meant something more than he expected. "Embrace your entire being? Does this mean he will have to face Kurama face to face? What do I need to do?" he asked, looking up at the sage. "Inside this cave," he said, pointing to the entrance, surrounded by flickering symbols, "you will encounter your true nature. This place will show you who you are. But remember, if you fail, the cave will swallow you." Jiraiya and Jin, standing nearby, watched silently. Jiraiya clapped Naruto on the shoulder. "You can handle it," he said with a warm smile. "I believe in you." Sakura, who stood a little further away, clenched her fists. Her face expressed concern. "Take care of yourself, Naruto," she whispered, although her voice did not tremble. Naruto nodded to everyone and stepped into the cave. Inside, he was greeted by a deep darkness that seemed alive. Test within? The cave came to life as soon as Naruto walked inside. The walls began to glow with a soft golden light, and the air was filled with a strange sound, like a whisper. Naruto took another step, and two figures appeared in front of him. Himself, but with Kurama's eyes, and he but from childhood, a small, frightened boy. "Who are you?" he asked, clenching his fists. "We are you," said Kurama Naruto. "Your strength and your darkness. And I am your past," said little Naruto. "Your fears, loneliness, and doubts." Naruto froze. He realized that the test was to accept them both. "You think you can control me?" Kurama Naruto said, his voice low and menacing. "But you're afraid. You are afraid of your power. As long as this is so, you will never be able to become stronger." "And you?" continued little Naruto. "You're still trying to prove to everyone that you're not a monster. But do you really believe it yourself?" These words hurt Naruto. He clenched his teeth, feeling his emotions wash over him. "Yes, I'm afraid," he shouted. "But I try. I won't let any of you control me." "Then prove it," said Kurama Naruto, directing a stream of red chakra at him. The battle inside the cave was intense. Naruto fought with himself using everything he had learned. He had to not only repel attacks, but also understand their nature. Eventually, he realized that he shouldn't fight them. "You are me," he said, standing up. "I won't be afraid of you. I will accept you instead. This is the only way I will become stronger." With these words, the cave lit up and the figures disappeared. A golden sphere of chakra appeared in front of Naruto and slowly descended into his hands. "This is your reward," said the voice of the sage. "You understand that harmony begins with acceptance." Sasuke's path. Meanwhile, Sasuke was crossing the dense forests, heading towards Mount Myoboku. His new abilities allowed him to sense chakra over great distances. He felt Naruto's presence, but a strange feeling haunted him. These techniques, although powerful, took something away from him. His vision became blurry, and his power often depleted after use. "Damn," he whispered, leaning on the tree. "I have to control this. Naruto can't be stronger than me." As he got closer to his target, he was surrounded by strangers in black robes. These were the same enemies that had been chasing Naruto earlier. They surrounded Sasuke, making seals. "You know too much, Uchiha," said one of them. "We'll have to eliminate you." Sasuke activated his sharingan. Despite his fatigue, he was ready to fight. The battle began, and his new techniques showed themselves. He was able to break through their barriers, but with each use of the power, his condition worsened. "If I fall," he said, breathing heavily, "I will fall knowing that I have achieved my goal." But before the enemies struck the final blow, A powerful flow of chakra destroyed their formation. Jin came out of the shadows and was watching Sasuke. "You don't seem to know what you're doing, boy," he said, raising his staff. "Get out while you can." Sasuke looked at him, but his gaze remained cold. "I won't leave until I meet Naruto." Jin narrowed his eyes, but did not argue. "Then go. But know this is your last warning." The cave behind Naruto slowly fell into silence, and he himself stood at the edge of the entrance, breathing deeply. The internal test changed him. He no longer felt the struggle that had been boiling inside him all these years. For the first time in his life, Naruto realized that Kurama's power was not a curse, but a part of himself. It is important not to fight this force, but to learn to work with it. Jiraiya was the first to approach him. His face expressed pride. "Well, Naruto, it seems you did it." Naruto nodded, his eyes blazing with determination. "Yes, Sensei. I accepted my power. Now I'm ready to use it to protect those I care about." The Toad Sage came closer, his steps slow but firm. "You have passed the test, Naruto Uzumaki. Now you have not only strength but also understanding. But remember that your journey is not over yet. True harmony is achieved through constant work on oneself." Sakura watched Naruto clenching her fists. She saw how he changed. This Naruto was no longer the happy-go-lucky boy she had known him before. "We're proud of you, Naruto," she said with a smile. But their moment of peace was short-lived. The silence was broken by footsteps coming from the forest. Jiraiya tensed, his hand instinctively reaching for the scroll. Sasuke emerged from the shadows of the trees. His gaze, as always, was cold, but there was weariness in it. "A Sasuke?" Naruto exclaimed, his voice filled with surprise and joy. "What are you doing here?" Sasuke didn't answer right away. He walked forward a little, then stopped, folding his arms across his chest. "I came for you, Naruto. We're not done yet." Meeting of friends, Naruto stepped forward, his emotions mixed. He wanted to hug Sasuke, but his wariness held him back. "Have you come to fight?" Naruto asked. Sasuke narrowed his eyes slightly. "No, not only that. I want to understand what you are looking for. Your power is growing, but you don't even know where you're directing it. If you want to be stronger, you must prove it." "Prove?" Naruto sighed, clenching his fists. "I don't want to fight you, Sasuke. We are friends, and I want you to understand that." "Friends?" Sasuke grinned. "Naruto, friendship won't save you if you can't protect what's important to you." Jiraiya tried to intervene, but Jin raised his hand to stop him. "Let them decide for themselves," he said. "This is their way." Sasuke activated his sharingan, his eyes sparkling like a challenge. Naruto, feeling that talking couldn't solve the matter, concentrated. His chakra began to pulsate. The surrounding space was filled with tension. Collision. Sasuke attacked first. His lightning-fast movements were enhanced by his Chidori technique, and he aimed the blow directly at Naruto. But Naruto managed to repel the attack, creating a shield from nature chakra. The explosion of energy from the collision caused the ground to tremble. "You've gotten stronger," Sasuke admitted, taking a step back. "But this is not enough." "Then try to deal with it," Naruto shouted, creating a whirlwind from his chakra. He aimed it straight at Sasuke, but he dodged it using a substitution technique. The battle continued, and with each passing moment, their attacks became more powerful. But none of them sought to cause serious damage. It seemed that their battle was more than a physical clash. It was a dialogue between two souls seeking to understand each other. Sakura watched the fight, her heart squeezing with anxiety, but she knew that interfering now would be futile. "Why do they always have to fight?" she whispered, turning to Jiraiya. "Because it's their way of growing," he replied. "Sometimes words cannot convey what can only be expressed through battle." Breakthrough. At some point, Naruto and Sasuke froze, breathing heavily. Their strength was almost at its limit, but they continued to look at each other. "You still don't understand, Sasuke," Naruto said. "Strength is not only struggle. This is protection. This is connection with others, and I will prove it to you." With that, Naruto allowed his chakra to fully connect with the energy of nature. His body began to glow with a soft golden light, and his aura became calming. Sasuke froze. His sharingan noticed something unusual. He saw Naruto's chakra flow like a river without chaos or destruction. "You have changed," he whispered, lowering his hands. Before they could continue their conversation, the forest around them was filled with movement. Figures in black robes began to emerge from the shadows. These were the same enemies that were chasing Naruto and Sasuke. "You both have become too strong," said one of them. "Now you are our target." Jiraiya and Jin instantly assumed fighting stances. Sakura also prepared to attack. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged glances, determination appearing in their eyes. "We're not done yet, Naruto," Sasuke said, activating his sharingan. "But first, we'll deal with them." Naruto nodded as his aura flared. "Let's do this together." Chapter 16. The Union of Fire and Lightning. Tension filled the air as enemies began to gather around Naruto and Sasuke. These were the same black-robed figures that had appeared on their path more than once, but now their number had increased. They surrounded Mount Mayoboku, as if trying to block any escape routes. They are serious, Jiraiya said, scanning the opponents. Naruto, Sasuke, if you have plans, now is the time to implement them. I only have one plan, Naruto said, his eyes blazing with determination. Break them all. Sasuke grinned, his sharingan flickering in the faint light. Are you so sure you can handle it? Then don't let me down. Then let's show them what we can do, Naruto replied with a smile. Start of the battle. The enemies attacked at the same time. They used barrier techniques to slow down Naruto and Sasuke's movements, but this only served to provoke them. Naruto, releasing streams of nature chakra, created a huge whirlwind that swept away anyone who got too close. Sasuke, using his sharingan, instantly identified weaknesses in the enemy's technique and delivered precise blows, destroying their barriers. You've gotten faster, Naruto noted, dodging the explosion. And you have become stronger, Sasuke replied, repelling the attack with his chidori. But the enemies did not give up. Their attacks became more and more coordinated, and the combinations of techniques intensified. At some point, Naruto and Sasuke found themselves surrounded. We have to think of something, Naruto breathed, trying to regain his breath. I have an idea, Sasuke said, his gaze becoming serious. We unite our chakra. Are we uniting? Naruto looked at him in surprise. Are you sure this will work? We have no choice, Sasuke replied. If we combine your nature chakra and my lightning, we can create a technique that will destroy them all. Naruto thought for a moment, but then nodded. Okay, let's do this. Creating a new level of power. Naruto and Sasuke stood back to back. Their chakras began to interact. Naruto concentrated, his nature chakra beginning to envelop his body in golden light. At the same time, Sasuke activated his full sharingan, his lightning chakra beginning to intertwine with Naruto's. Don't let go of your concentration, Sasuke said. We must synchronize our flows. Yes, I know, Naruto replied, feeling his energy connecting with Sasuke's. Suddenly, the space around them began to change. Their chakras merged into a single stream, creating a huge vortex of light. It was something enormous. The energy of Sasuke's lightning and the nature of Naruto's chakra created a sphere filled with incredible power. What is this? Sakura whispered, watching what was happening. That's their potential, Jiraiya replied. They have created something that goes beyond conventional techniques. Grand finale. The enemies, seeing this display of power, tried to attack, but their techniques were useless. The sphere of light grew and then exploded in a stream of energy that swept away all enemies. But this force was not destructive. It was controllable. All opponents were driven back, but not destroyed. When it was over, Naruto and Sasuke stood in the middle of the clearing, surrounded by light. Their breathing was heavy, but there was confidence in their eyes. We did it, Naruto said, smiling. Sasuke looked at him, and thinking for a moment, nodded. Yes, but this is just the beginning. Consequences. As the enemies retreated, Jiraiya and Jin approached Naruto and Sasuke. What you just did is not just a technique, Jiraiya said. This is evidence of your connection. You were able to synchronize your chakras, which is almost impossible. This proves that you are stronger together. Sakura came closer, her eyes shining with admiration. Both of you, it was incredible. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other, their gazes full of respect. They realized that their powers, although opposing, could become the most powerful weapons if they worked together. But their moment of calm was interrupted. A new figure appeared on the horizon, watching them. Her chakra was dark and ominous. They awakened what we were looking for, said the stranger. Now it's time to act. Chapter 17, Starting Joint Training. After the battle that united Naruto and Sasuke, their connection became noticeable to everyone. Despite their past enmity, they began to realize that together they could achieve much more. This was also noticed by Jiraiya, who, despite his experience, could not help but admit how strong the students had become. Well, kids, he began with a grin, leaning on his staff, if you are as powerful as you think, let's see if you can handle real challenges. Your individual strengths are impressive, but to defeat a truly powerful enemy, you must learn to work as a team. Team? Naruto raised his eyebrows. But we already fought together with Sasuke. Isn't this enough? Jiraiya sighed as if he were talking to a child who didn't understand anything. It was improvisation, he explained, but coordination is something completely different. Your actions must be synchronous, like a single mechanism. If the three of you, Sasuke, Sakura, and you, learn to work together, no one can stop you. Sakura, standing to the side, nodded. That sounds reasonable. We've already shown that we can cope individually, but as a team, I think we have room to grow. Sasuke, although he didn't seem interested, said quietly, if it helps us become stronger, I agree. Great, Jiraiya clapped his hands. Then let's start with a training battle. Your task is to defeat me. Naruto laughed. Defeat you? Yes, we will sort you out in no time, Jiraiya-sensei. Jiraiya just grinned. We'll see, baby. First training fight. The training ground was located in the forest, surrounded by tall trees. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura took their positions, while Jiraiya stood in the middle of the clearing, looking completely relaxed. There's only one rule, he said, raising his hand. Use everything you know. But remember, if you act in silos, you will lose. Let's show him who the real master is here, Naruto exclaimed as he released chakra. We have everything to win! Sasuke chuckled. Take your time, fool. Without a plan, you'll only ruin everything. Stop bickering, Sakura intervened, stepping between them. If we don't work together, he'll tear us apart. Jiraiya waved his hand. Well, shall we start? Sasuke did not wait for the signal and attacked first, using Chidori. His lightning-fast movement was aimed straight at Jiraiya. But to his surprise, Jiraiya dodged as if he knew his trajectory in advance. Fast but predictable, Jiraiya said, dodging another blow. Meanwhile, Naruto created several shadow clones surrounding Jiraiya. However, Jiraiya, using the Earth technique, created a barrier, throwing all the clones back. Do you really think such basic attacks can stop me? He grinned. Sakura, meanwhile, came up from behind, using her incredible strength. Her blow split the ground, but Jiraiya managed to move out of the way. This is power, he remarked, but you need more precision. First lesson. After several minutes of fighting, Jiraiya stopped them by raising his hand. Enough, he said. You are strong, you can't take that away. But you act in silos. Each of you is trying to show off instead of supporting each other. Naruto frowned, breathing heavily. We attacked together! You attacked at the same time, Jiraiya corrected him. It's not the same. You don't support each other. For example, Naruto, you could distract me with your clones so Sasuke could land a clean hit, and Sakura could use her strength to create a moment for you to attack. But instead, each of you acted differently. Sasuke listened silently, and Sakura nodded, admitting that Jiraiya was right. Then we need to train more, Naruto said, his eyes lighting up. Exactly, Jiraiya replied, and we will start with coordination exercises. Coordination exercises. Over the next few hours, Jiraiya forced them to work together. They had to move as one, creating strategies as they went. Naruto learned to restrain his impulse. Sasuke learned to rely more on the team, and Sakura learned to use her strength not only for attack, but also for support. By the end of the day, when the sun began to set, Team Number 7 began to show the first results. Their movements became more coordinated and their strategies more thoughtful. Jiraiya smiled as he looked at them. That's better, he said. You become a real team. Naruto, although tired, smiled. A little more and we will definitely defeat you, Jiraiya-sensei. We'll see, Jiraiya replied. That's enough for today. Tomorrow we will start from a new level. Chapter 18. Shadows of the Past. After several days of hard training, Team Number 7 began to show noticeable results. Their movements became more coordinated, their strategies more thoughtful. Jiraiya, watching their progress, felt proud but also worried. He knew that the power of Naruto and Sasuke, as well as the incredible potential of Sakura, would attract the attention of not only allies, but also enemies. Great job, guys, he said as they completed another practice match. You start to understand what it means to be a team. Naruto sat down on the ground, breathing heavily, and smiled widely. So, are we ready to defeat our enemies? He asked enthusiastically. Sasuke just grinned as he put the kunai away. As long as you don't barge in again without a plan. Hey, Naruto frowned. I always think ahead. Sakura, standing nearby, rolled her eyes. Of course, Naruto, of course. But their peaceful conversation was interrupted by a sound that echoed in the forest. It was a low, sinister laugh that came from behind the trees. Jiraiya instantly tensed, his gaze becoming cold and focused. Who's here? He asked loudly. A tall man with pale skin and long black hair emerged from the shadows of the trees. His eyes sparkled with danger, and a smug smile played on his lips. Oh, Jiraiya, he said, folding his hands behind his back. It's been so long since we've seen each other. Naruto frowned at the stranger. Who is this? He asked, standing up. His name is Daigo, Jiraiya replied, not taking his eyes off the man. He was once my student, before he betrayed everything I taught him. Oh, don't be so strict, Daigo grinned. I just found another way. And it looks like you're playing teacher again. Only this time your students look much more interesting. The threat is revealed. Daigo took a step forward, his gaze sliding over Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Uzumaki, Uchiha, and Haruno. What an interesting combination. Strength, intelligence, and potential. But I need something from you. Or rather, from you, Naruto. He pointed a finger at him. Naruto frowned. From me? What do you need? Your strength, Daigo answered, his voice becoming cold. The Nine Tails is the key to fulfilling my plan. If you don't give it up voluntarily, I will take it by force. Sasuke stepped forward, activating his sharingan. You'll have to go through us. Very brave, Uchiha, Daigo grinned, but you three don't understand who you're dealing with. The next second, he disappeared, appearing right in front of Jiraiya. Their kunai collided, creating sparks. You haven't changed, Jiraiya, said Daigo. You still protect those who are weaker than you. And you still attack those who are stronger than you, Jiraiya replied, pushing him back. The battle begins. Daigo didn't give them a chance to rest. His technique was dangerous and insidious. He used dark chakra, which was created from the energy of other people. Each of his blows was powerful and accurate. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Jiraiya shouted. You must work together like we trained. Got it, Naruto shouted as he created shadow clones. Sasuke used his Chidori to break through the barrier created by Daigo, and Sakura launched a powerful punch into the ground, destroying his defenses. Their coordinated attack forced the enemy to retreat, but this did not mean victory. Interesting, Daigo said, standing up. You're really strong, but this is not enough. He activated his technique. Dark streams of chakra burst out of his body, which began to absorb the energy of the surrounding space. What is this? Sakura exclaimed, trying to stay on her feet. It's his power, Jiraiya replied. It absorbs the chakra of everything around it to strengthen itself. So we have to stop him before he gets too strong, Naruto shouted. Combined attack. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged glances. They understood that their only chance was to combine their forces. Naruto focused, releasing nature chakra as Sasuke activated the full power of his sharingan. Ready? Asked Sasuke. Ready, Naruto replied. Their chakras merged again, creating a powerful flow of energy. It was the same thing they had used in the last battle, but now they were more confident in their actions. A stream of fire and lightning, surrounded by a whirlwind of nature chakra, rushed towards Daigo. What? He exclaimed, trying to defend himself. But the attack was too powerful. Streams of energy destroyed his barrier and threw him back. When the smoke cleared, Daigo was breathing heavily, his body bruised. Not bad, he said. But this is just the beginning. We will meet again. With that, he disappeared, leaving Team 7 and Jiraiya at the training ground. New challenge. When it was over, Jiraiya gathered them together. This was a serious enemy, he said. And this is just the beginning. You must continue to work on your coordination. This is your only chance against people like him. Naruto, despite his fatigue, smiled. We can handle it, Sensei. Together we are invincible. Sasuke didn't say anything, but his gaze was full of determination. Sakura nodded, her confidence in the team growing. They knew that new challenges awaited them. But now, thanks to their joint efforts, they were ready for any challenge. The night on Mount Myoboku was calm and quiet. Only the soft light of the moon illuminated the tops of the trees, and the sounds of the forest filled the air. After a long day of training, Naruto couldn't sleep. His thoughts were full of questions. Who was this Daigo? What did he want from him, and how to use his power to protect his friends? Sighing, he got out of bed, trying not to wake Sakura and Sasuke. Looking around the camp, he decided to find a secluded place for meditation. Maybe this will help me figure it out, he muttered, heading towards the top of the mountain. When he reached a small clearing surrounded by ancient trees, he sat on the ground cross-legged and closed his eyes. His breathing became slow and measured, and his chakra began to flow in soft waves. He focused on feeling his energy and tried to hear its rhythm. Meeting with a mysterious silhouette, Naruto felt his consciousness begin to deepen. The space around him changed, the trees disappeared, and the ground under his feet turned into a smooth, mirror-like surface. Everything around was shrouded in golden light. Where am I? He whispered, looking around. Inside your chakra, answered a voice that sounded as if it was coming from everywhere and from within at the same time. Naruto turned around to see a figure shimmering in the light. It was the silhouette of a tall man with long hair, his eyes glowing with a soft blue light. He looked ancient, but at the same time strong. Who are you? Naruto asked, his voice full of surprise. I am one of the chakra guardians, answered the silhouette. You are the chosen one, Naruto Uzumaki. And that's why I'm here. You must learn the truth about your power. Naruto frowned as he felt his heart begin to beat faster. The truth? What truth? Chakra is not just the energy that you use to perform techniques, the silhouette began. This is the connection that unites all living things. She is a reflection of the world, as well as its key to harmony. But its true nature was lost. You feel it, don't you? Naruto nodded. After training at Mount Myoboku, he began to understand that chakra was more than just a tool. But why me? He asked. Why should I know this? The silhouette took a step forward and its voice became more serious. Because you contain the power not only of the Nine Tails, but also of nature itself. You can become a bridge between people and the world, but only if you understand what true chakra is. The mystery of chakra. The silhouette raised his hand, and the space around him began to change. Naruto saw images, huge streams of chakra intertwined like rivers, mountains that glowed with energy, and people whose bodies glowed like stars. Chakra is the memory of the whole world, the silhouette explained. Each of its streams contains not only power, but also knowledge. If you learn to read these streams, you can gain wisdom that will change you forever. Read chakra? Naruto frowned. How is this possible? It's not easy, the silhouette answered. But you have already begun your journey. Remember, don't fight the chakra. Let her guide you and you will see the truth. At this moment, the space began to fade, and the silhouette figure became more and more transparent. Wait, Naruto shouted. I want to know more. You will find out, Naruto, said the silhouette, but only when you're ready. Mark my words, the truth of a chakra lies not in its strength, but in its harmony. Awakening? Naruto opened his eyes and found himself sitting in a clearing. The forest around him was as quiet as before, but inside he felt different. These words, this meeting, they left a deep imprint on his mind. Chakra is the memory of the whole world, he repeated quietly, looking at his hands. Can I really understand her? He stood up and walked back to camp, his steps slow but sure. New ideas began to form in my head on how to use my powers, but he also understood that many more challenges awaited him ahead, and this was just the beginning. Chapter 20. Awakening New Possibilities. The morning on Mount Mayaboku began with the warm rays of the sun breaking through the dense crowns of trees. Naruto woke up before everyone else, feeling an unusual calm within himself. The memory of his nightly encounter with the mysterious silhouette was fresh in his mind. These words, these images, it all seemed unreal, but at the same time, real. Chakra is the memory of the whole world, he repeated to himself, getting out of bed. I have to understand what this means. While the others were still sleeping, Naruto headed to the training ground where he and Jiraiya had practiced the day before. He sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes, focusing on his chakra. First steps. Naruto began as he was taught. He slowed his breathing, allowing his chakra to flow freely, but now he decided to go further. Remembering the words of the silhouette, he tried to feel the chakra not only inside himself, but also around him. It was difficult. The flows of natural energy were barely perceptible, like a quiet whisper among the noise. Focus, he whispered to himself. Don't fight her, let her lead you. Gradually, Naruto began to distinguish thin threads of chakra, like invisible strings connecting him with the outside world. These streams were alive. They moved, vibrated, pulsated. He extended his hand, and one of the threads seemed to respond, sliding lightly towards his fingers. This is incredible, Naruto whispered, his eyes opening slightly. Suddenly he felt the flow of chakra change. He concentrated on this change and saw an image, a faint trembling of leaves towards the forest. Suddenly the bushes began to move, and a small animal jumped out of them. Naruto was surprised to realize that he had predicted his appearance when he felt changes in the flow of chakra. I can feel the world around me. His voice trembled with excitement. Team intervention. His thoughts were interrupted by Jiraiya's voice. Naruto, did you wake up before us? What are you doing here? Naruto turned around, seeing that his sensei, Sakura, and Sasuke were standing nearby, watching him with interest. I'm training, Naruto said, standing up. I'm trying to understand chakra, as you taught. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes as he noticed something unusual in Naruto's aura. It seems you have already gone beyond what I showed you. What are you doing? Naruto hesitated a bit, but decided to talk about his night meeting. He described the silhouette, his words about the chakra, and how he felt during meditation. Jiraiya frowned. It sounds like something very ancient, he said. Mysterious knowledge about chakra has always attracted the attention of those who want to use it for their own purposes. You have to be careful, Naruto. Sasuke folded his arms over his chest. Are you saying you can sense chakra around you? This may be useful, but are you sure you're not doing something wrong? I'm sure, Naruto exclaimed, clenching his fists. I felt the flows of chakra, how they moved, how they connected everything around. Sakura smiled. If this is true, Naruto, you should continue, but only under supervision. First check. Jiraiya suggested a practice fight to test Naruto's mastery of his new skill. Sakura and Sasuke agreed to help. Their goal was simple, to keep Naruto off balance in order to test his chakra sensitivity. Sasuke attacked first, using a lightning technique. Naruto closed his eyes, concentrating on the flow of chakra. He sensed Sasuke's movement before he even got close and managed to dodge. He really does it, Sakura noted, watching what was happening. She then attacked from the other side, using her power to destroy the ground and knock Naruto down. But Naruto felt the chakra in the ground shift and jumped back in time. You surprised Naruto, Jiraiya said. But you don't yet know all the power that can be drawn from this knowledge. Attracting attention? High in the sky, hidden by thick clouds, two figures watched Team 7 practice. Their presence was so overwhelming that birds flying nearby suddenly changed direction, sensing something ominous. These figures, dressed in dark robes, emitted cold alien chakra, from which even the nature around them began to freeze. He is beginning to understand the nature of chakra, said one of them, a man with sharp features and long silver hair. His voice sounded low and calm, but there was a sense of threat in it. Uzumaki becomes something more than just a carrier of the nine tails. We can't let him go any further, answered the second figure, a woman with short hair dyed purple. Her eyes sparkled with a cold light, and her words sounded like an order. If he reveals the truth about chakra, our plans will be in jeopardy. The man crossed his arms over his chest, his gaze remaining focused on Naruto, who, despite his training, looked young and carefree. It is still only at the initial stage, but his growth is alarmingly fast. We must intervene now before he reaches a point where he cannot be stopped. The woman nodded. Get ready, she ordered. We'll start with reconnaissance. Let our shadows test the ground first. This will give us more time to prepare for the next step. A strange chakra sphere fell from her hand, which, dividing into several black shadows, rushed towards the training ground. These creatures, similar to ethereal ghosts, were almost invisible, but their presence was felt like a cold creeping over the skin. Make him feel like he's being watched, she added. This will force him to act. The man grinned. Perfect. Let's see how far they will go. First signs. On the training ground, Team 7 continued their exercises. Naruto, fascinated by his new skill, tried to feel the chakra around him like the night before. Sasuke and Sakura created increasingly difficult conditions for him, but he managed, avoiding their attacks and responding with his own blows. Jiraiya watched this with a slight smile. He's really starting to understand, Jiraiya muttered under his breath. But this is just the beginning. The real tests lie ahead. However, the calm was suddenly broken. Naruto stopped abruptly, his gaze becoming focused. He felt something strange. A subtle, barely perceptible coldness that seemed alien to everything he knew. Something's wrong, he said, clenching his fists. What do you mean? Sakura asked, stopping next to him. I feel it, Naruto replied, his gaze sweeping across the forest. It's like something is watching us. Sasuke activated his sharingan, instantly scanning the space. I don't see anything, he said, but if you feel something, Naruto, it might be important. Jiraiya frowned. His experience told him that Naruto might be right. Everything is ready, he ordered. If there's someone here, they shouldn't take us by surprise. Attack of the shadows. Suddenly, shadows began to emerge from the forest. They moved slowly, almost disappearing into thin air, but their presence was felt by everyone. These creatures were not alive. They were created from dark chakra, devoid of any color except deep blackness. What is this? Sakura exclaimed, raising her hands into a fighting stance. These are not just ghosts, Jiraiya said, activating his barrier technique. These are scouts. Someone is trying to probe our defenses. The shadows attacked simultaneously. They did not use physical force, but their touch burned like an icy blizzard. Naruto and Sasuke were the first to react, Naruto releasing several shadow clones to distract the enemy, and Sasuke sending a Chidori straight into the center of the largest shadow. They cannot be defeated with normal attacks, Jiraiya shouted. They feed on your chakra. Don't waste your energy. Then how to stop them? Naruto shouted as he dodged the shadow's strike. Jiraiya closed his eyes, concentrating. He sensed where the dark chakra flow was coming from and quickly activated the sealing technique. They can't be here without their creators, he said. So someone is watching us. The offensive stops. The shadows disappeared as quickly as they appeared. The surrounding air was again filled with the sounds of nature, but the feeling of danger remained. This is just a warning, Jiraiya said. They are watching us, and if we're not careful, the next attack will be much worse. Naruto clenched his fists, his gaze filled with determination. Let them come, he said. I'll prove to them that I can handle it. Sasuke moved closer, his sharingan still active. Whoever it is, they are afraid of us. And this is their first mistake. Sakura nodded. We can handle it, but you need to be prepared. Jiraiya looked at his students, proud of their determination. But deep down, he knew that the challenges ahead would be far more difficult than anything they had ever seen before. Chapter 21, In Search of Truth. After the attack of the Dark Shadows, Team 7 gathered for a meeting around the fire. The night on Mount Myoboku was quiet again, but now the silence seemed alarming. Each of them understood. The attack of the shadows was only the beginning, and the real enemy had not yet shown himself. Jiraiya, sitting on a fallen tree, looked at his students. We can't stay here, he said, breaking the branch in his hands. These shadows were scouts. If we wait, we will be caught off guard. Sasuke nodded. If they want our chakra, we need to find out where they're operating from. You can't let them control the situation. I agree, said Sakura. But how do we find them? These creatures have disappeared and we have no clues, Naruto thought, his gaze directed towards the forest. I can try to sense their chakra, he suggested. If they left any trace, I can find it. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes as he assessed the offer. This is risky, Naruto, he said. You are just beginning to understand your connection with the chakra of nature. If the enemy senses that you are trying to find them, they may attack again. Then let them attack, Naruto replied, clenching his fists. I'm not afraid. We must find out who they are and what they want. The search begins. In the morning, the team set off. Naruto walked ahead, focusing on his chakra. He tried to feel the surrounding currents to find something that was different from the natural rhythm of nature. Are you sure this will work? Sasuke asked, walking next to him. Yes, Naruto answered without being distracted. I already felt their chakra. She is strange, cold, and wrong. If they left even a small trace, I will find it. Sakura walked behind, looking back from time to time. Be careful. If they attack again, we must be ready. Naruto stopped, his eyes widening slightly. Here it is, he said, pointing forward. I feel it. They are behind those rocks. Den of enemies. As the team approached the rocks, the entrance to a cave opened in front of them. A strange glow emanated from there, and the air was permeated with the same cold that Naruto felt during the attack of the shadows. Here, he whispered. They're inside. Jiraiya stopped, looking around the cave. We're going together, he said. We are not divided, and be prepared for anything. They went inside. The cave was dark, but the walls glowed with a soft green light emanating from strange symbols carved into the stone. These symbols seemed to pulsate as if alive. This is not just a cave, Sakura noted. It's something like a temple. Or laboratories, Sasuke added, pointing to strange structures in the corners. In the center of the cave, they discovered a huge circular altar covered with symbols that seemed ancient. Above him hung a chakra sphere, flickering with dark light. What is this? Naruto asked as he came closer. It's a chakra concentrator, Jiraiya answered. They collect the energy of nature and transform it into something else. Meeting the enemy. Before they could do anything, the air around them became thick, and the light in the cave went out. The very figures who had been watching them earlier emerged from the shadows. Welcome, said a man with long silver hair. His voice sounded confident but cold. We were waiting for you. Who are you? Jiraiya demanded an answer, standing in front of his students. And what do you need? We are the Guardians of Darkness, answered the woman with purple hair, her eyes sparkling with an ominous light. And we are looking for someone who can awaken the truth about chakra. She pointed at Naruto. And that person is you, Uzumaki. Naruto clenched his fists, his gaze filled with anger. If you want my chakra, you will have to take it by force. The man chuckled. Oh, we don't just want your chakra. We want your knowledge. You have touched a secret that has been hidden for centuries. Now you are part of this path, whether you like it or not. Battle in the cave. The Guardians of Darkness began to attack. Their technique was unique. They used dark chakra to create illusions that became real. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura rushed into battle using everything they had been taught. Sasuke activated his sharingan to see through the illusions. He launched a lightning attack at the woman, but her barrier absorbed his blow. Your strength is impressive, Uchiha, she said, but not enough. Naruto created many shadow clones to distract his enemies while he focused on the chakra sphere. He felt that she was the key to everything that was happening. I'll destroy it, he shouted, gathering his chakra into a Rasengan. But before he could attack, the man stopped him by appearing right in front of him. You're too hasty, Uzumaki, he said, but it makes you interesting. The man punched Naruto, sending him flying backwards. But at that moment, Jiraiya activated the Fire Dragon technique, forcing the enemy to retreat. Naruto, concentrate! Jiraiya shouted. We must work together! New Union. Team number 7 began to act harmoniously, combining their forces. Sakura used her incredible strength to destroy part of the cave and weaken her enemy's defenses. Sasuke directed a powerful attack at the barrier protecting the chakra sphere, and Naruto concentrated all his energy to destroy it. When the sphere was destroyed, the cave began to collapse. The Guardians of Darkness retreated, their faces full of anger. This is just the beginning, the woman said, disappearing into the shadows. We'll be back. Chapter 22. The Secret Hidden in the Cave. As the dust from the collapsed cave settled, Team 7 began to look around. They understood that the Guardians of Darkness had temporarily retreated, but their plans still threatened not only the team, but the entire world. Jiraiya was the first to notice the remains of symbols covering the walls of the cave. Despite the destruction, some of them still glowed with a faint golden-green light. These signs, he muttered, leaning closer. They are ancient. Perhaps here lies the key to understanding their goals. Naruto, still breathing heavily from the fight, approached his mentor. And what does this mean? He asked. Maybe they can tell us why these guardians tried to take my chakra? Sakura, while removing debris from one of the walls, noticed a strange written scroll hidden under the stones. She picked it up, blew off the dust, and handed it to Jiraiya. I think this is what we were looking for, she said. Ancient records. Jiraiya unrolled the scroll. The text was written in a language he didn't know, but the symbols and designs looked familiar. This is similar to the recordings I saw in the Temple of the Wise Toads, he said. But there are more details here. If I'm right, then this is due to the very nature of chakra. Sasuke came closer, carefully studying the symbols. These signs, he pointed to one of the parts of the text, speak of the intertwining of the world. This may be related to the chakra as a connecting force. World intertwining? Naruto frowned. What does it mean? Jiraiya took a deep breath. Chakra is not just energy that we use, it is part of all living things. These notes seem to hint that the Guardians of Darkness are seeking to change its nature, perhaps even subjugate it to yourself. Sakura frowned. But how can they do this? Jiraiya pointed to the drawing in the center of the scroll. It depicted a man surrounded by streams of chakra that connected to a huge sphere in the sky. This image, he began, looks like a process of absorption or transformation of chakra. They are probably trying to collect all the energy of the world in one place and redirect it under their control. Sasuke tensed, his sharingan flashing. If they can do this, they will not only become the strongest, but also the only ones who can use chakra. The rest will simply remain defenseless. The truth about the Guardians of Darkness. Naruto clenched his fists. So they want to control everyone. But why? Why do they need this? Power, Jiraiya answered quietly. Control over chakra is control over the world. If they can control it, they can control every ninja, every villager, even the nature of the land itself. Sakura and Sasuke looked at each other, realizing the scale of the threat. We have to stop them, Sakura said firmly. I agree, Sasuke added, but we need more information. These records only confirm their goals but do not tell where they operate. Jiraiya rolled up the scroll and placed it in his bag. We'll take this with us to Mount Myoboku. There I can decipher the text with the help of the wise toads. They may know more about these symbols and their meaning. Naruto nodded, but his eyes burned with determination. Whatever they are up to, we will stop them. We won't let them destroy the world. New threats are ahead. Before leaving the cave, the team inspected the room again. In one of the corners, Naruto noticed a small crystal that glowed with a dark green light. He picked it up and felt a wave of cold energy run through his body. What is this? He asked, showing the find to Jiraiya. Jiraiya frowned as he studied the crystal. It's a chakra concentrator, he answered. This is probably part of their plan. We'll take him with us. Perhaps it will help us understand how they collect energy. Sasuke, watching this, said thoughtfully, if this is their tool, then we must be prepared for the fact that they have others. When the team left the cave, the sun was already rising on the horizon. Their path was now clear. They must deliver the records to Mount Myoboku and prepare for a new stage of the struggle. Team 7 arrived at Mount Myoboku under cover of darkness. Tall trees and massive rocks, surrounded by a mysterious atmosphere, created a sense of calm that seemed deceptive. Despite the fatigue after the battle and travel, each of them understood that there was no time to rest. The wise toads greeted them with a seriousness that rarely appeared on their faces. Jiraiya-chan, Fukasaku said, looking at the scroll in the hands of his old friend. If what you brought is really that important, we need to start studying it immediately. Jiraiya nodded. It's not just important, he replied. If we don't reveal their plan, the world could change forever. Naruto, standing nearby, held in his hands the crystal that they found in the cave. The energy emanating from him still gave him a strange feeling. I want to understand what it is, he said, showing the crystal. Maybe it's connected to what they're up to. Fukasaku looked at the find and frowned. This is not just an artifact, he said. This is a focusing crystal designed for chakra manipulation. Such things can be extremely dangerous in the hands of those who know how to use them. Decoding the scroll, painstaking work has begun in the Temple of Wise Toads. Jiraiya, Fukasaku, and the other elders began deciphering the symbols. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura watched the process, but soon Naruto could not stand it. We're just sitting here, and they're up to something, he exclaimed. We must act. Sasuke looked at him coldly. Do you want to act without a plan? This will only lead to defeat. If we learn more, we may be able to strike at the heart of their operation. Sakura intervened, trying to calm the situation. We all want to act, Naruto, but now we need to trust Jiraiya-sensei and the wise toads. At that moment, Fukasaku looked up from the scroll. I found something, he said, attracting everyone's attention. It speaks of the power sleeping in the chakra of nature. This is something that existed even before chakra was used by ninjas. What kind of power is this? Asked Sasuke. This, Fukasaku paused, is the potential that can reveal the true nature of chakra in a person. But to activate it, you need to go through a special ritual associated with the nature chakra. So we can use this against them? Sakura asked. Perhaps, Fukasaku replied, but it's risky. This kind of power can change you forever. Awakening ritual, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura agreed to undergo the ritual, realizing that this was their chance to confront the Guardians of Darkness. The wise toads led them to a holy place on the top of the mountain, where the chakra of nature was especially strong. There was an ancient circle carved in stone and 3 places for meditation. Sit here, Fukasaku said. Concentrate on your chakra and allow nature to merge with you. It won't be easy, but if you can do it, you will gain new strength. Naruto sat down first, followed by Sasuke and Sakura. They closed their eyes, focusing on their sensations. A strange vibration began around them, as if the mountain itself had come to life. Feel the flow of chakra, Fukasaku whispered. Let them guide you, awakening a new force. Sakura and Sasuke were the first to feel the changes. Sakura began to see thin lines glowing green on her arms, and her chakra became incredibly concentrated. She felt that she could heal even the most serious wounds in an instant. This is incredible, she whispered. Sasuke's eyes changed. His sharingan took on a new pattern, and he felt his control over lightning increase to incredible levels. Now, he could control the lightning as if it were his own limb. I feel it, he said quietly, his voice full of determination. But the most dramatic changes occurred with Naruto. His body began to glow with a golden light, and an energy reminiscent of the radiance of nature appeared around him. He felt that he could not only control nature chakra, but also enhance it in others. This is power, he said, opening his eyes. I feel it in every cell of my body. New challenge. When the ritual was completed, the entire team felt renewed. But their joy did not last long. Familiar dark shadows appeared on the horizon. They found us, Jiraiya said, getting into a fighting stance. Fukasaku frowned. They sensed your new strength. Now you have become their main target. Naruto stepped forward, his golden glow brighter than ever. Let them come, he said. We're ready. Chapter 24, New Age Battle. The sunlight barely had time to break through the thick clouds before Mount Myoboku was once again filled with tension. Dark figures that appeared on the horizon slowly approached. Their presence was overwhelming, as if the space itself was thickening, not wanting to let enemies onto the sacred ground. The Guardians of Darkness have come for Team 7 and their new power. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood shoulder to shoulder in front of the wise toads and Jiraiya. Each of them felt the pulsation of new power within themselves. These abilities gave them confidence, but also responsibility. They've come for us, Naruto said, his golden aura flickering. We won't let them destroy the world. Sasuke activated his new sharingan, his voice remaining cool and confident. We will let them know that we made a mistake in choosing us as a target. Sakura, clenching her fists, felt her chakra filling her body with unprecedented power. Let's finish this. Jiraiya watched his students. He saw them become stronger, but he knew that strength was only part of the victory. Don't lose your head, he reminded. Work together, this is the only way you can defeat them. Enemies appear. The Guardians of Darkness stopped in the distance, their silhouettes standing out against the sky. The man with silver hair and the woman with purple hair were leading the group again. Uzumaki, Uchiha, Haruno, the man began, his voice low and cold. We see that you have accepted a power that you should not have revealed. It was a mistake. The woman stepped forward. You think you can stop us with these pathetic powers? Your efforts are pointless. We strive for a goal that exceeds your imagination. And what is this goal? Naruto shouted, clenching his fists. Control over the world? The woman smiled. Not just control. We are going to transform the very nature of chakra. Make it completely ours, controlled only by us. You are only the first obstacle on this path. Start of the battle. Without waiting for an answer, Naruto attacked first. His golden aura flared, and he created dozens of shadow clones that rushed at his enemies. Sasuke supported him by using a new lightning technique that tore through the ground and sent several figures flying back. Sakura launched a powerful punch to the ground, destroying the nearby barrier created by her enemies. You are still too young to understand what you are dealing with, the man said, making the seals. Dark chakra erupted from his body, creating shadowy creatures that began to attack the team. Naruto and Sasuke joined forces to destroy the ghosts. Naruto used his nature chakra to suppress the dark energy, and Sasuke broke up their attacks with lightning. They are stronger than we thought, the woman said, retreating. But it doesn't matter. Time is on our side. The enemy's plans are revealed. During the fight, Jiraiya noticed that the Guardians of Darkness were not only focused on attacking, they were trying to gain time, as if they were trying to complete something important. His hunch was confirmed when he saw the man activate a massive seal on the ground. They're not just fighting, Jiraiya shouted. They're activating something big. We must stop them! Fukasaku, standing at the edge of the battlefield, frowned. This is a seal to release ancient power, he said. If they complete its activation, the nature chakra could go out of control and destroy everything around. Naruto, hearing this, rushed towards the seal. but a man with silver hair blocked his path. "You can't stop us, Uzumaki," he said. "You became part of this path without even realizing it." Naruto attacked him, creating a giant Rasengan, but the enemy used dark chakra to absorb the blow. "Your strength is useless against us," he said. "You are just a tool for our purpose." Team strategy. Naruto turned to Sasuke and Sakura. "We must work together," he said. "If they activate this seal, everything will end." Sasuke nodded. "I'll distract them. Naruto, Sakura, destroy the seal." Sakura and Naruto rushed towards the seal while Sasuke attacked the enemies. His lightning cut the air, forcing the Guardians of Darkness to focus on him. Sakura, using her new power, destroyed part of the protective barrier around the seal. Naruto focused his nature chakra to neutralize the remaining dark energy. As the seal began to break, the man with silver hair shouted, "You don't understand what you're doing! This will only speed up the inevitable." Victory, but with consequences. When the seal was broken, the earth shook, and the energy of nature surged out. The enemies retreated, but their words echoed in the ears of the team. "You won today," the woman said, disappearing into the shadows. "But this is just the beginning. Your strength is a gift that will be your undoing." When everything calmed down, the team gathered around the destroyed seal. Jiraiya sighed, his gaze filled with worry. "We won, but they still pose a threat," he said. "And now they know what you are capable of." Naruto looked at his friends, his eyes filled with determination. "Let them come," he said. "We're ready. We will stop them no matter the cost." The valley at the foot of Mount Myoboku was filled with an eerie silence. The Guardians of Darkness, surrounded by an aura of dark chakra, stood motionless, their silhouettes standing out against the foggy horizon. A man with silver hair and a woman with violet eyes led their group as they watched Team 7 approach. "They have finally decided on direct confrontation," the man said, his voice as cold as steel. "Great, we'll crush them here." "Uzumaki Naruto," the woman added, her eyes sparkling. "You and your team will be the first victims of our power." Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stopped a few meters from their enemies, their auras glowing with new powers gained after the ritual at Mount Myoboku. Jiraiya stood behind them, his gaze focused and his hands ready to form seals. "Did you think you could manipulate the world's chakra without consequences?" Naruto asked loudly, clenching his fists. "We won't let you continue. Do you want to stop us?" The man grinned. "Then prove that you are worthy." Start of the battle. The man made the seals, and the ground under Team 7's feet began to crack. Dark streams of chakra erupted from the cracks and rushed towards them like snakes. Naruto activated his new power. A golden aura of nature enveloped his body, and he created a whirlwind that destroyed nearby attacks. "Is that all you have?" Naruto shouted, rushing to attack. Sasuke, having activated a new level of sharingan, attacked with lightning-fast techniques. His Chidori cut through the air, heading straight towards the woman. She dodged with incredible speed, but was forced to use a barrier to stop the blow. Sakura struck the ground with a powerful blow, causing her enemy's dark chakra to roll back. Her strength was now so great that each of her blows destroyed stones and earth. "Impressive," the woman remarked, retreating, "but it's not enough to defeat us." Guardian tactics. The Guardians of Darkness began to act harmoniously. The man summoned several dark clones that attacked Naruto and Sasuke. These clones were unusual. Their bodies were composed of dark chakra that absorbed the energy of attackers. "They're taking chakra!" Sasuke shouted, managing to dodge one of the clones. "Don't let them touch you!" Naruto created dozens of shadow clones to distract his enemies and focused on the man with silver hair. His attacks became more and more powerful, but the enemy repelled each of them with ease. "You're strong, boy," the man said, blocking Naruto's blow. "But your power is not complete. You don't even understand what is actually hidden in the chakra." Meanwhile, the woman created a massive barrier of dark energy that began to compress the space around Sakura. But Sakura, using her new strength, destroyed the barrier with a blow of her hand. "You underestimate us," she said, directing her energy towards the enemy. "It will be your mistake." Unified attack. Jiraiya watched the battle, his mind analyzing every move of his enemies. He realized that Team 7 could only win if they joined forces. "Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura," he shouted. "You need to work together. This is the only way you can break through their defenses." Naruto and Sasuke exchanged glances. Despite their past differences, they knew that Jiraiya was right. Naruto focused his nature chakra, creating a huge Rasengan filled with the power of earth and wind. Sasuke, in turn, directed his lightning into Naruto's technique, increasing its power. "Ready?" Naruto asked. "Always," Sasuke replied. Sakura, realizing their plan, struck the ground to weaken her enemy's defenses and then retreated to give them space to attack. The combined technique of Naruto and Sasuke was unimaginably powerful. When she reached her enemies, an explosion of energy tore through the dark barrier, throwing the Guardians back. Disclosure of plans. When the smoke cleared, the man and woman stood, breathing heavily, but not giving up. Their faces did not express fear, but satisfaction. "You surprised us," the woman said, wiping the blood from her lips. "But you still don't understand what you've done." The man nodded. "Your attacks have strengthened our ritual. Now the chakra of nature will begin to flow towards us. We will become its complete masters." Team 7 looked at them in shock. New symbols appeared on the earth which began to glow, and the energy of nature began to concentrate around the guardians of darkness. "We'll be back," the man said, disappearing with the woman, "and next time we will destroy you." Summing up, when the enemies disappeared, Team 7 felt relieved, but knew that this was only the first battle. "They've enhanced the ritual," Jiraiya said, studying the symbols. "We have to find out what this means before they complete their plan." Naruto clenched his fists and looked at the horizon. "We will not retreat," he said. "If they want to take over nature's chakra, we will stop them, no matter the cost." Sasuke and Sakura nodded, their determination clear. New challenges lay ahead of them, and they were ready for them. Chapter 26. Finding Ancient Artifacts. After the Battle of Mount Myoboku, Team 7 realized that their enemies were much stronger and more cunning than they thought. The Guardians of Darkness were not only able to withstand their attack, but also used it to strengthen their ritual. Now Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Jiraiya knew that they had to act quickly to stop their enemies' plans. Fukasaku, the elder of the Wise Toads, gathered the team around the ancient scroll they brought from the cave. "It talks about 3 artifacts related to the chakra of nature," he began. "Each of them holds power that can either destroy the balance of the world or protect it." Jiraiya frowned as he studied the text. "If the Guardians of Darkness are going to complete their ritual, they will certainly try to use these artifacts," he said. "We have to find them first." Fukasaku pointed to the map that was drawn on the scroll. "The first artifact is in the Temple of the Forgotten Forest," he said. "But be careful. The Guardians had probably already sent their servants there." Path to the Temple of the Forgotten Forest. Team number 7 set off immediately. The forest they were heading into was shrouded in thick fog. Ancient trees speckled with moss rose above the ground, creating the feeling that they were in another time. "This place seems strange," Naruto noted, looking around. "It's like it's alive." Sasuke walked ahead, his sharingan activated. "There is a strong concentration of nature chakra here," he said. "This place is protected. If we are careful, we can avoid the traps." Sakura looked around the ground, trying to notice anything unusual. "We are not alone," she said. "I feel someone's presence." Jiraiya stopped. "They could be servants of the Guardians," he said. "Be prepared." Traps of the forest. The path to the temple turned out to be difficult. The forest was filled with traps created by the ancient artifact protectors. The roots of the trees moved as if alive, trying to grab the team. On their way, ghostly images appeared that tried to confuse them. Naruto used his clones to distract the traps, but realized that this was not enough. "We can't just force our way through," he exclaimed. "These traps are too smart." Sasuke stopped, closing his eyes to concentrate. "The traps are set for those who try to take the artifact with bad intentions," he said. "If we prove that our goals are pure, they may let us through." Sakura frowned. "How will we do this?" "We use nature chakra," Sasuke answered. "It will show our connection with the world." The team huddled together, focusing on their new powers. They allowed the chakra to flow freely without resisting its natural flow. The forest seemed to acknowledge their intentions. The roots retreated, and the ghosts disappeared. "It worked," Naruto said, smiling. "We've passed." At the Temple of the Forgotten Forest. When the team reached the temple, they were greeted by a massive stone structure covered in ancient symbols. In the center of the hall was the first artifact, a golden sphere floating in the air and emitting a soft light. "It's him," Jiraiya said, "first artifact." But before they could approach him, enemies emerged from the shadows. These were the same servants of the Guardians of Darkness who had been watching them earlier. "We won't let you take it," said one of them, making seals. "This artifact will become part of our master's ritual. The battle has begun." Naruto and Sasuke rushed forward to distract the enemies, while Sakura tried to find a way to protect the artifact. Jiraiya used his techniques to keep his opponents at bay. "Fight for the artifact." The Guardian servants were strong, but team number 7, with new strength, was able to cope with them. Naruto created a powerful Rasengan filled with nature chakra and knocked one of his enemies back. Sasuke used his new sharingan to predict his opponent's movements and delivered a precise strike. Sakura, using her incredible strength, destroyed the protective barrier around the artifact. "I'm almost there!" she shouted. But at that moment, one of the enemies activated a technique that began to absorb chakra around. Team 7 felt their strength begin to weaken. "We can't lose!" Naruto shouted, his golden aura flaring brighter. "This is our chance!" Gathering all his energy, Naruto activated a technique that combined his power with nature's chakra. He created a whirlwind that destroyed the enemy's equipment and freed the artifact. When the battle ended, Team 7 approached the artifact. Naruto carefully picked it up. He felt warm energy fill his body. "We did it," he said, breathing heavily. New challenge. Fukasaku, who was watching from afar, looked worried. "This is just the beginning," he said. "There are 2 more artifacts, and each of them will be more difficult to find." Jiraiya nodded. "We can handle it," he replied. "But now we know that the Guardians will do everything to stop us." Naruto, clutching the artifact in his hands, looked at the horizon. "Let them come," he said. "We'll stop them." Chapter 27. The Secret of the Forbidden Scroll. After their success at the Temple of the Forgotten Forest, Team 7 continued on their way in search of the next artifacts. But before they could leave Mount Myoboku, Naruto came across an unusual scroll hidden in an ancient hall where the knowledge of wise toads was kept. The scroll was covered in strange hieroglyphs that Naruto couldn't read. "What is this?" he asked, picking it up from the shelf. Jiraiya turned around upon hearing the question. "This is one of the ancient scrolls that has been kept here for thousands of years," he said, but even the wise toads could not fully understand its contents. "This text is written in a language that disappeared long before our era." Naruto frowned as he looked at the symbols. "Maybe I can try to figure this out," he suggested. "Don't, Naruto," Jiraiya warned. "These scrolls are associated with forbidden techniques. Studying them can be dangerous." But Naruto couldn't take his eyes off the scroll. Something about him attracted him, as if his very subconscious knew that something important was hidden inside. Conversation with Kurama. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Naruto sat in a secluded area and unrolled the scroll. He looked again at the strange symbols that seemed to flicker in the dim moonlight. He concentrated, trying to feel the chakra associated with the text, but instead heard a familiar voice in his subconscious. "Are you really going to read this?" Kurama said, his deep voice echoing in Naruto's mind. "Kurama!" Naruto was surprised. "Do you know what is written here?" Kurama chuckled. "This scroll contains knowledge that existed even before the appearance of chakra as energy. They are connected to a primordial form of power that humans were never meant to use." "Why?" Naruto asked. "If it is such a powerful force, can't we use it against the Guardians of Darkness?" Kurama was silent for a moment, then replied, "This power is dangerous not because of its power, but because of the way it changes the one who uses it. But if you are confident that you can handle it, I will help you read this scroll." Naruto thought about it. He knew it was risky, but if it gave him a chance to protect his friends and stop the Guardians of Darkness, he was willing to take the risk. "Okay," he said. "Show me what is written here." Unraveling the mystery, Kurama began to slowly translate the hieroglyphs. Each symbol revealed new knowledge to Naruto about the nature of chakra. These techniques were associated with its forbidden use, concentrating energy in its purest form and transforming it into a weapon capable of destroying and creating at the same time. "This is a style of chakra mastery called primary source," Kurama explained. "It allows the user to completely merge with nature's chakra, but it comes at a high price." "What is the price?" Naruto asked, his voice shaking slightly. "You may lose touch with the world," Kurama replied. "This technique requires complete harmony, but if you lose control, the chakra will consume you." Despite the warning, Naruto was determined. He began to train following Kurama's instructions. Each exercise was more difficult than the last, but he felt his connection with the chakra becoming deeper. Awakening the Forbidden Technique. After a few days of hard training, Naruto felt he was ready. He focused all of his chakra, allowing it to flow freely. His body began to glow with a soft golden light, and the air around him was filled with energy. "This is it," said Kurama. "You have reached the first level of mastery of the primary source. But remember, this is just the beginning." Naruto opened his eyes. He felt different. His connection with the chakra of nature became so deep that he could feel every blade of grass, every flow of wind around him. "I feel it, Kurama," he said. "This is incredible." But their moment was interrupted. Jiraiya, feeling a surge of energy, hurried towards Naruto. "What did you do?" he exclaimed when he saw the scroll and the glow around Naruto. "I looked into it," Naruto replied, clenching his fists. "This is a style that can help us defeat the Guardians of Darkness." Jiraiya looked worried. "Naruto, do you understand how dangerous this is? You can lose yourself." "I won't lose," Naruto said firmly. "I have you, my friends, and Kurama. I can control this." Chapter 28. Battle of the Origin. The night on Mount Myoboku was lit up by ominous flashes of dark chakra that surrounded the Guardians of Darkness. Their presence seemed to absorb the light, and even the nature around froze in anticipation. Naruto stood in front of them, his golden aura shimmering with soft shades, as if he had become part of the world itself. The power of the source pulsated inside him, ready to burst out. "You actually dared to learn this technique," the silver-haired man said, his voice sounding mocking. "But do you know that this power will become your curse?" "I know that this power can save the world," Naruto answered firmly. "And I won't let you destroy everything we hold dear." Sasuke and Sakura stood next to Naruto, their auras also glowing from the power gained from the ritual. Jiraiya watched from the shadows, ready to intervene at any moment. "This is our fight," Sasuke said, activating his sharingan. "We will not allow you to complete your ritual." "You don't even understand what you're up against," said the woman with violet eyes. "The chakra of nature must belong to us, and you are too weak to stop us." Start of the battle. The man made the seals, and the earth began to tremble. Dark streams of chakra burst out from under Team 7's feet and sought to absorb their energy. Naruto was the first to rush forward. His movements were faster than before, and his attacks carried inexplicable power. "Rasengan of the Origin!" he shouted, creating a giant chakra vortex that absorbed the dark currents and threw the man back. Sasuke and Sakura were not far behind. Sasuke activated his new technique, creating lightning that broke through the protective barriers of his enemies. Sakura, using her power, destroyed the stone pillars on which the Guardians activated their seals. "We must destroy their seals!" Sakura shouted. "This is the source of their strength!" But the enemies did not give up. The man summoned a huge elemental made of dark chakra that attacked Naruto. He dodged, using the new speed gifted by the Origin, and counterattacked. "You can't stop me," the man said, blocking Naruto's blow. "This power will destroy you from the inside." "You feel it, don't you?" The price of power. Naruto was really starting to notice side effects. His body felt heavy and his chakra was flowing too quickly, draining him. But he knew he couldn't stop. "I can handle it," he whispered, intensifying his attack. "I have to." The kurama inside him watched with concern. "Naruto, be careful," he warned. "This power is unstable. You might lose control." "I know, Kurama," Naruto replied, "but I can't let them win." The turning point. Sasuke, noticing that Naruto was starting to run out of steam, activated his full lightning synchronization technique. His attack, enhanced by the sharingan, penetrated the woman's defense and destroyed one of the main seals. "They are getting weaker," he said. "Continue." Sakura created a wave of destruction, destroying another seal, and the enemies began to retreat. But the silver-haired man activated his final technique, causing a powerful explosion of dark chakra that knocked the team back. "You are strong," he admitted. But this is not enough. The explosion caused a rift in the ground, and a huge sphere of energy burst out of it, which began to absorb everything around. "This is our strength," said the man, "and you won't be able to stop her." Victory at a cost. Naruto, despite being exhausted, gathered all his remaining chakra and activated the final stage of the Origin. His body began to glow with a blinding light, and the power within him burst out. "I will stop this," he said, creating a huge Rasengan filled with the energy of nature. He aimed the attack directly at the sphere, and a powerful explosion lit up the entire area. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was on his knees, breathing heavily as the orb disappeared. The enemies retreated, their faces expressing shock. "We'll be back," the woman said, disappearing into the shadows, "and next time you won't cope." Consequences. When it was over, Sakura and Sasuke helped Naruto up. His body was shaking and his eyes looked tired. "You did it," Sakura said. "But what's wrong with you?" "This power. It's too powerful," Naruto whispered. "I feel how she changes me." Jiraiya stepped closer, his face showing concern. "We won today, but you have to be careful, Naruto," he said. "This technique can consume you if you are not careful." Naruto nodded, but there was determination in his gaze. "I can handle it," he said. "We must stop them, no matter the cost." Chapter 29. The Gravity of Power. After the battle with the Guardians of Darkness, Naruto felt his body begin to change. The new technique he mastered seemed not only powerful, but also dangerous. Each use of the Origin left marks on his body, a feeling of heaviness, as if his own chakra had become an enemy. Sasuke, Sakura, and Jiraiya, despite their victory, also understood that their problems had just begun. The Guardians of Darkness were not completely defeated, and their words about the final stage of the ritual sounded in the heads of each of them. "We need to find out where they are going to complete their ritual," Jiraiya said, sitting by the fire. "If they activate the final seal, everything we have done will be in vain." "But how?" Sakura asked. "We don't know where to look." "We know that they are connected with the chakra of nature," Sasuke said thoughtfully. "Perhaps they are using one of the places where its currents are strongest." Naruto sat to the side, his gaze fixed on the fire. He was silent, but a storm of thoughts raged inside him. "Naruto, are you okay?" Sakura asked, noticing his confusion. "Yes," he answered without looking at her. "I'm just thinking." But in fact, he felt how the power of the Origin was changing him. His body was getting stronger, but the price was too high. Every use of the technique left him feeling like he was losing a part of himself. New threat. The next morning, the team set off. Fukasaku, who was accompanying them, pointed to a map where one of the places saturated with nature's chakra was located. This is the sacred lake, he said. His energy is so strong that it can support life even in Deadland. If the Guardians of Darkness want to complete their ritual, this place is ideal. As they approached the lake, they were greeted by an eerie silence. The air was saturated with dark chakra, and even the nature around looked distorted. The water of the lake was black, and in its center hovered a huge chakra sphere. They've already started, Jiraiya said, his gaze becoming intense. We're late. New enemies emerged from the shadows of the trees. These were servants of the Guardians, but their auras were stronger than those the team had met before. Among them stood a tall man with two katanas and a girl with long silver hair, whose chakra seemed bottomless. You again, the man said, his voice low and threatening. You won't leave here alive this time. We will not allow you to complete the ritual, Naruto shouted as he activated his golden aura. Do you think that your strength will save you? The girl said with a grin. This technique you use is destroying you from the inside. You won't last long. Battle on the lake. The battle has begun. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura attacked in unison, just as Jiraiya had taught them. Naruto created dozens of shadow clones to distract his enemies and used a new technique he mastered with the help of the origin, the Rasengan of Purity, infused with the energy of nature. His blow shattered the man's defenses with the katanas, but that was only the beginning. Sasuke, using his new sharingan, predicted the girl's movements and sent a lightning-fast Chidori at her, but her chakra created a barrier that absorbed the attack. Your strength is impressive, Uchiha, she said, but you're not ready yet. Sakura fought with incredible power. Her blows were so strong that the ground under her feet cracked. She destroyed several guardian servants, but a girl with silver hair stopped her attack. Your power is only useful at close range, she said, activating a technique that created an illusory field that absorbed her blows. Using the primary source. Naruto realized that they couldn't win using normal methods. He concentrated, allowing the power of the origin to completely consume him. His body began to glow even brighter, and the energy around him began to pulsate. Naruto, stop! Jiraiya shouted. You can't handle this power! But Naruto didn't listen. He created a giant chakra vortex that destroyed all enemies around him, but the technique began to drain him. His body trembled, and his eyes began to lose focus. Naruto! Sakura screamed, running up to him. I'm fine, he whispered, but it was clear that he couldn't continue for long. Ritual of the Guardians. Meanwhile, the chakra sphere in the center of the lake began to expand. The man with the katanas, who was still standing, made his seals. You lost, he said. The ritual is almost completed. When it is completed, the nature chakra will become ours. Naruto, despite his fatigue, stood up. We haven't lost yet, he said, creating the last Rasengan, filled with the power of the origin. Sasuke and Sakura supported him by joining forces. Their attack was incredibly powerful, and it destroyed the chakra sphere, but the ritual was still not completed. Consequences. When the battle ended, Team 7 realized that they had only delayed their enemies. The Guardians of Darkness retreated, but their words sounded threatening. You won today, said the man with the katanas, but the next fight will be your last. Naruto sank to the ground, his body shaking from exhaustion. Sakura and Sasuke helped him up, but it was clear that he had paid a heavy price for using the new technique. We must find a way to stop them completely, Jiraiya said. But for this, we need more strength and knowledge. To be continued, don't miss it.